Thank you, Stephanie. Beautiful voice you have. Thank you so much. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yay, wow, look at everybody. This is amazing to see. Hello. So before I begin my talk, I first need to acknowledge somebody who's here in our audience who doesn't live here, and I just can't help but acknowledge you. Marcia, will you please stand? Reverend Marcia. Many of you know her. She was the founding minister of this center more than almost 20 years ago. Is that correct? Yes. And she was my mentor for 4 years while I was in ministerial school. So she's a very dear person and a special person to many of us. Thank you. Love you. All right. So we're talking about from fear to faith. This whole month has been freedom from fear and error thinking. That has been the topic of the month, and so we finish up this month strong with from fear to faith. Have any of you, when you were a child, did you ever fear that there were monsters? Monsters on the slides. Yeah, no. That is not what's supposed to go next. So while Sandy is figuring that out, I will just share with you rather than show you. So when I was a kid, yeah, welcome to ministry. Yes, here we are. When I was a child, I feared that there was monsters under my bed, and if I put my foot down in the middle of the night, they would grab my leg and pull me under the bed or into some deep, dark abyss. Did any of you ever fear that? Yeah, yes, right? Oh my God. And then as we get older, well, that fear goes away, hopefully. That fear goes away. But we still have monsters in our life. They just show up a little differently as we become adults. They show up in our fears related to the decisions made by the government. Yeah. They show up in our fears when we don't want to walk down a dark alley by ourselves. They show up when we lock our doors at night. It's the reason we lock our car doors. It's the reasons we eat certain foods and not choose to eat other foods. Yeah, so as adults, these become our monsters, so to speak. I had such a cute graphic. Look at my little graphic. You can't see it, but it says, Dad, Mom, I swear there's a monster under my bed. And there's this huge monster and this little guy on this little bed. Anyway. So these monsters, yeah. So, we come from this place of fear so often. That is, see, there it is. Yay! Isn't that cute? So cute. So we come from these places of fear, and we live from that place, and it impacts the decisions that we make. So it's not as if we're making decisions that are necessarily about our wholeness and our perfection. We make decisions often because we're afraid of what will happen. So with our health, for example, so are we saying, I'm choosing to eat this versus this because I know and honor my health, my body, who I am? Or are we choosing this because, oh my God, if I eat this, I'm going to get sick. That's going to contribute to something negative in our system. Do you see the difference? Yeah. So these monsters show up in all different areas of our life. How many times, in fact, do we pray for something because we fear not having it? Yeah? So instead of praying from a place of knowing it's happening, knowing it's going to come to us, we pray more from a place of, oh, what if I don't get into graduate school? What if I don't get well? What if I don't find that perfect relationship? Please, God, bring that to me. That's often where we focus our attention and our energy. And when we're afraid of something, where does our energy go? It goes to that very thing that we're focusing on. So like the monster in the picture that's so big, That's the energy where our fear goes. And then we get caught up in the story of it. And the what-if scenarios. Do you all know about the what-if scenarios? Well, what if someone breaks in my house? What if I get sick? What if I don't get well? What if I never find that perfect partner? And that can't ever go well when we're thinking what if, because that we start to create a story. The reason when we were children we got so worked up about the monster in our bed because we imagined the absolute worst. What if that monster looks like this? What if it has claws and it wraps its hand or paw or whatever around my leg? What if it tears my skin? Do you know? So we add these stories, and pretty soon one story leads to another, and another, and pretty soon we don't ever want to get out of bed. We don't ever want to put our toe on the ground because we know we're going to get eaten up by this big monster. So they become huge. As Lori shared, I recently became a minister, and we had to do quite a bit to become ministers in this movement. I had to pass 10 exams. I had to sit in front of an interview with three ordained ministers, and I remember just thinking, what if I don't pass? What if I don't pass my exams? What if I don't pass my oral panels? What is the community going to think of me? What is Joe T going to think of me? We have this whole event planned, our installation ordination event. What if I don't pass? I mean, this is what I was thinking. Now, when I get out of that fear and I get out of the story of it, of course you all would have embraced me anyway. You would have loved me anyway. Joe T is so amazing. She would have just said, oh my God, I love you. I'm right here. It's okay. But we get ourselves worked up in those stories. We get ourselves, that's the stories just take us and and now we're down here. Can anybody relate to that? Yeah. And so how do we shift that? How do we shift our fears? First, we have to have the courage to look at them. We have to have the courage to face, to look the monster in the eye and say, hi. How you doing? And many of us aren't even, we've been carrying these fears for so many years. Some of us 20, 30, 40, 50 years. We don't even know what we're afraid of anymore. But we're walking around and we're feeling it on some level. I want you right now to tense your body. I want you to cross your legs, keep them crossed, put your arms over your chest, and I want you to just bend over and tense your body. Tense it, hold. Release. That's fear. That's fear. That's what fear does to our bodies. That's it. But we don't realize that. And then we wonder why we're in pain, and we wonder why we're struggling, and we wonder why we're having so many challenges. Because we're walking around like this, not literally, but you understand the point. Right? So now I want you to just relax. Open your arms. Open your chest. I want you to feel into, within the center of your being, that beautiful light that is God. That beautiful presence. Just allow that light that is always there in the center of our chest. Just let it just fill your chest, fill your being. Breathe into that. The energy of God, the energy of the divine. And just take a breath. And open your eyes. You feel the difference? Yeah. So when we're feeling that fear, and if we have the courage to look at it, to really look at it and ask, what's underneath? What is underneath the fear? Because often what's there are unlimiting beliefs. I shared the example of the fear I had about not passing my exams. What was underneath that is a belief that I wouldn't be accepted. A belief that I wouldn't be loved. That's what was there. So when we're willing to face it, face our fears and really ask that question, we can learn a lot. But we have to have the courage to do that. Because when we're in fear, our heart is closed. Like I had you tense your body. Our heart is not open. There's a wall there. There's an actual wall that gets created. I want to read to you a beautiful passage by a Buddhist nun, Pema Chodron. She's written a number of books, and this book is called The Places That Scare You. It's appropriate for today's talk. So she talks about the walls that we hold because of our fears. Rather than going after those walls and barriers with a sledgehammer, we pay attention to them. With gentleness and honesty, we move closer to those walls. We touch them and smell them and get to know them well. We become familiar with the strategies and the beliefs we use to build the walls. What are the stories that I tell myself? What repels me and what attracts me? We start to get curious about what's going on. Without calling what we see right or wrong, we simply look as objectively as we can. We observe ourselves with humor, not getting overly serious, moralistic, or uptight about this investigation. And then little by little, year after year, we remain open and receptive to whatever arises, and gradually the cracks in the walls widen. And so we have to be willing to look at the fears, to face them, to ask them, what are you here to teach me? What are you here to offer me? And it doesn't have to happen right away. And like she said, we can have humor about it. You know, as I stand up here, as I sat there, I was afraid. Sure. And then as I messed up the slides, I'm laughing at myself. I was hysterical. Do you know, sometimes we have to laugh at ourselves. You know, laugh at our fears, laugh at our humanity. We're so serious. We are so serious. My beloved knows this best. I am such a drama queen sometimes. Yes? It's okay to nod. I am. I know. Yeah, trick question. So Pema Chodron talks about a wonderful practice called Tonglen. And it's a Buddhist practice. And it's a practice that actually sometimes some hospice nurses use to support their patients. And what it is as you think about your fear, you breathe in the fear. You breathe it in through every pore of your body. You just breathe it in. And you're also breathing in the fear of humanity, knowing and recognizing that you're not the only person experiencing that fear. So you recognize and honor all those who are probably experiencing that exact same thing, and you breathe that in too. So let's practice this together. So I want you to think for a moment something that you have a fear about. It doesn't have to be a huge thing, but just pick something. Closing your eyes. And just breathe it in. Breathe it in with every pore, every cell of your body. Just breathe in that fear. This is happening quickly. You're breathing it in. And now you're also breathing in the fear of humanity. You're breathing in and acknowledging the fear that humanity is also holding related to that very thing. And now breathe out peace, breathe out light, breathe out wholeness, breathe out harmony, breathe out compassion. It says breathe it all out and send that light to your fear, to the fear of all beings who are experiencing that, and just breathe it out. Now opening your eyes. Can you feel that? That's 30 seconds. That's a practice that is so powerful. And it seems a little counterintuitive because we're first breathing in the pain, but it's within seconds. We're not holding it. You're breathing it, and then you breathe out. It's powerful. How many Star Wars fans are in here? Anybody? Few of us? Yay! So I was 8 when I first saw Star Wars, and my whole life was called Princess Leia, Princess Leia. I love Star Wars. And at the time when I was a kid, I didn't understand that the Force meant God. Yeah, but it is truly such a spiritual film. I mean, when you listen to it through that lens, it's really powerful. And so I love this quote. But now I know there is something much stronger than fear, far stronger. The Force, the universal God force, the light, right, that God is. And when we recognize that, and we touch into that, and we feel that, that fear can melt away. But we have to remember that this is who we are, that this is available to all of us. We forget that. We forget that. We give all of our power to the fear. This fear, I'm just going to keep giving it more energy, more juice, right? We don't even realize we're doing that. So we give our power to that thing that's outside of ourselves. This is inside. This is way more powerful. Way more powerful. But we forget that. There's another quote I want to share by our founder, Dr. Ernest Holmes. I love that picture. Just really represents connecting with that divine presence. So here's what Dr. Ernest Holmes said. Shall we live in fear or in faith? Shall we live in confusion or in the peace that comes from a deep and abiding conviction that there is a power greater than we are, ready, willing, and able to work for us? Yeah. It's a choice. It's a choice that we have. And as Pima Children talks about, it's not about sledgehammering the walls. It's just first even recognizing that they're there. First recognizing that the fears are there. And having compassion for ourselves. And being gentle with ourselves as we're working through these fears. Little by little by little. And having a sense of humor with it as well. And not taking it so seriously. Yeah. And asking for support. From us, from the practitioners. We're all in this together. We're all in this together. So, I could share this story, but as I was preparing for my talk, I thought, my mic's falling down. I thought, what better person to share their story of fear to faith than Leanne Goff? So some of you know this beautiful being, and her story is so profound. She has walked the story of fear to faith in such a profound way that I asked if she would come up and share her story. So please. So sweetie, I'm going to have you, because we had the mic issues, I'm going to have you come over here. Yeah, right there. Actually, you know what? In order for them to see you, can you still see Tim? Because we want to make sure this gets recorded. Jyoti wants to see this.
Thank you so much for inviting me here and allowing me to stand in the light and be seen for who I am. I had an episode that changed my life a year ago. It was in the summertime that I had a health episode where I awoke in the ICU after 3 days of prodding and scanning and evaluating, and when I woke up after surgery, I was told that I had a very deadly tumor, one that would limit my life 2 months, and that there was no hope for anything that would resemble a cure. So as you can imagine, I went home from that experience with a very large monster under my bed. And this monster would wake me up at night and follow me into the bathroom and meet me at breakfast with lots of scary stories and traumatic things for me to think about. And I knew that no matter how long my life was, whether it would be days or months or years, I couldn't live every day with that monster. I had to live my life the way that I love to live my life, in love and with joy. But how would I ever get away from Darth Vader, who was chasing me with his lightsaber and ready to get me at any opportunity that he had? Well, I would dive in and I would find my hero inside. I would dive into my spiritual foundation. I would find my spiritual community, and I would use the tools of my foundation to find peace and to find joy. So the first thing that I did is I started to count my blessings. Every day I would count my blessings, and I saw the list growing and getting bigger and almost too long to explain to somebody in a few minutes. And for that I was incredibly grateful. And every single morning I brought some of my books with me. I would write my affirmations. I would write my affirmations for what I knew my future would be and for how I wanted it to come forward, until the monster went from so big that he took over my whole house and my whole life and my whole being, and he started to shrink. And he started to shrink through my affirmations and through my gratitudes, which I was doing every day, and my spiritual practices and my meditation and my releasing of the fear. He started to shrink. He started to shrink until he was just a little tiny pipsqueak, like a grain of sand. And I'd say, "You have no power over me." And I would release him. And I have more joy now, and I have more thanks now, and I have more purpose now than I've ever had in my whole life. Deeper, closer relationships with my friends and the people who love and care about me. And I feel so grateful. I know that this episode is a new journey. I know that it is a gift. And I'd like to let all of you know that with this coming week, it is 18 months. So 2 years is around the corner and many more years to come.
Yay! Yay! That's amazing. Thank you. Love you too so much. Thank you. Yeah, having her share that versus me. Thank you so much. Wow. Oh, wow. So I wanted her to share that because, as you can see how powerful that is. Truly a testament of moving from fear to faith. And she worked at it, little by little. And does it mean she didn't have moments where that monster was boom, right? Of course she had those moments, and she was just stuck with it. She didn't give up. And she reached out. She's reached out to me. She's reached out to Jyoti. She's attended stuff. She's participated. You're amazing. I say that all the time, but you blow my mind, truly. You are a testament of our work. You are a testament of our principles. You are a testament that you can indeed move from fear to faith. Thank you. Whew. So, when we put our hands into the hands of God, when we really trust, it has a totally different energy, as I had you feel into that energy earlier. When your heart, your chest is open, your body is open, when we're in that space of trust and faith, we can move through things. We can move through our fear. We can move from fear to faith. It is possible. Yeah. And so I want to bring back the affirmation that you got when you came in, because I think this is a beautiful way to end today. So let's all say this together again. There is nothing to fear. I am an infinite expression of the divine, and so it is. So practitioners, will you please stand in high consciousness? Let's just move into prayer. And so right here, right now, we just give thanks for this knowing that God indeed has our back, that God indeed is right there with us, is moving through our body, through every cell. That powerful force is always with us, that we can indeed rely on that force. We can indeed reach out to that force when we are in fear. And so I'm knowing right here, right now, that we indeed have the courage, we have the strength to move through our fears, to let go of the power that we are giving our fears and move that power over to God. And so we just hand this over and we say, yes, God, yes. And we release all that is in the way, the blocks and the walls, and we just let those fall away. And so we just say, thank you, God. Thank you for all this and so much more. And so we just release this knowing that God indeed always says yes. And so we say, thank you, Spirit. And so it is.